My vision is to use Disney Plus as the platform for the metaverse. I think it really blends our physical beings with our digital beings and creates a three-dimensional canvas, if you will, for our creative storytellers to paint so that we can create experiences that otherwise have been defined as it's a park experience or it's a movie experience or it's a book experience. I think those all come together without boundaries, without borders, without constraints, and our creatives are just biting at the bit to get into the Disney metaverse.
That was Disney CEO Bob Chapek last night on Fast Money talking about his company's big ambitions in the metaverse. And with so many consumer-facing companies trying to figure out how to play this brand new environment, we want to know who has a real opportunity in this fake world and what the heck is the metaverse anyway. Let's bring in Jefferies equity analyst Andrew Urquhart to break it all down for us. Andrew, great to have you with us. A lot of people might think that they know what the metaverse is, that it's something like a Decentraland, and that's what these companies are talking about. You actually say that the metaverse isn't something that we have right now. What is it going to be?
Yeah, well, I think there's a long-term definition which everybody likes to use, Ready Player One, right? Which is a mirrored version of the physical world in a virtual world somewhere where you can be whatever you want to be, go wherever you want to be, go wherever you want to go. That's probably decades away, but that's okay. In the meantime, the technology that's going to take to build that opens up all sorts of new and exciting opportunities. And so while we don't think the utopian version or dystopian version of metaverse is coming, there is still ample opportunity for public and private companies alike to take advantage of the technology needed to build it.
We know that a lot of companies are figuring out some sort of metaverse strategy at this point, like we heard Disney CEO Bob Chapek talking about, Andrew. But at this point, do we know that there is the traffic in the metaverse to be worthwhile for these companies at this point? Or how do you think about the projections of that?
Oh, yeah, totally. We already have metaverse-like things. You have virtual concerts in Fortnite. You have virtual concerts in Roblox. Vans, the skateboard and shoe company, built their own experience in Roblox last month. 40 million people visited it. And so there are things happening that the early adopters are already kind of playing in a world that is metaverse-like for sure.
No doubt, many early adopters. I guess my question was, how close are we for this entire thing to really come to fruition? I mean, is this 6 months away, which I don't think it is, or is it 10 years away, which probably
Sorry, Guy, we are having an issue with your audio there, so I'll pick up the question while we try and straighten that out, and we'll also ask the other traders to join in. But Andrew, in terms of the low-hanging fruit for investors might think, oh, this is like Web 3.0. I want to get in on this. We're at the early stages, so what companies are actually benefiting from this idea of metaverse as opposed to it just being a buzzword that they throw out because they think that investors want to hear it?
Yeah, no, I'm old enough to remember when everybody put .com on their name, right? And it does feel a little bit like that. But again, there are companies really benefiting. You take a company like Roblox. There are brands tripping over themselves to build experiences in Roblox. That's going to drive traffic. That's going to drive engagement. That will ultimately drive monetization for a company like Roblox. For video game companies like EA, Take-Two, Activision, they can slowly introduce it. These companies are typically fast followers on the latest trends. And so as they start to introduce some elements around collectibles, NFTs, and have metaverse-like experiences, that will do the same thing, drive engagement. The bigger companies, I would question kind of the near term. And I believe, Mark Zuckerberg said the same, where it's going to take years to get to his vision of what it is. But there are companies today that can monetize from it for sure.
Hey, it's BK. So I'm curious on the total addressable market or the market size here. I mean, one way to think about the metaverse, of course, is as another trading block like the EU or China or the US or another GDP. Two questions. Do you have a sense of how big of an opportunity is it? Is it 20 trillion? Is it 10 trillion? And then what is the currency of the metaverse going to be?
Yeah, I don't have a market size. Every time my team thinks about it, we just get bigger and bigger numbers. And if we use the baseball analogy, we're still in batting practice, let alone even starting the game here. So that's kind of how we think about it. But I will tell you, Metaverse is not necessarily a new concept for gamers, right? They spend $75 billion a year on virtual goods. Now on the currency, again, this is kind of open for debate because the Web 3.0 folks out there think this is going to be completely decentralized, and ultimately the currency will be some sort of cryptocurrency. Very likely, at least in the investment time horizons that we have, and I think most of your viewers have, it will probably be walled gardens, in some cases using real dollars, in other cases using a virtual non-backed currency like in video games, or it could be a cryptocurrency. I think a lot of the stuff is still being sorted out. And in fact, some of the best investments are probably actually on the private space that's trying to build some of these experiences in the metaverse.
Andrew, this is fascinating stuff. I hope you'll come back on the show and talk about this more. Andrew Urquhitz from Jefferies.
Thank you so much.
So, Guy Adami, what do you make of the metaverse? We've straightened out the audio issue here.
First, is my audio okay?
No, we didn't. Our bad. Our bad. Dan Nathan, where do you think the opportunity is right now?
Yeah, I think near term it is in these walled gardens. If you think about, Zuckerberg told us he's going to spend $10 billion, right, to create some sort of universe, at least that his existing 2.5 billion users can participate and use their hardware to do it, and possibly use, to BK's question, their currency if they ever get their DM thing going here. So, you know, obviously, I think that's how it starts. I don't think that's how it finishes. I think that there is this vision that the walled garden version will be a dystopian sort of version, whereas the Web3 vision of it is going to be very decentralized.
Yeah. BK, where do you stand on the metaverse at this point?
Well, I think the metaverse is going to be absolutely huge. I think it's going to be as big a trading block as any of the countries that we're talking about now, the EU or the US or anything like that, because it encompasses the whole globe. But that's 20 years down the line. In the meantime, I do think, you know, you can buy stuff like Nvidia and those type of things, kind of the picks and shovels of it. But I do also think the cryptocurrency world, when you look at some of those, you look at like an Axie Infinity, even just buying Ethereum, I think will get you some exposure to the growth of the metaverse.